Web3 adoption around Southeast Asia. A lot of companies within our own portfolio and also our network are raising right now. Anything from like $1 million in a strategic or right? I don't know if anyone here is actually raising. Is anyone here raising right now? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, awesome, great. This is good because we were thinking about taking some questions from the audience. So if you guys actually have something that you want to ask our investors up here, we're going to throw the mic to you a little bit later. So yeah, let's keep it practical, and we'd love to hear some really implementable advice. Just to kick us off and warm things up, I would love to ask, just to be direct, are you actively deploying capital right now? And if so, what gets you excited? And how are these leads coming through? Like, do you get them like as a word of mouth referral from your VC friends, or are you actually responding to, say, a cold email or a cold Twitter DM that comes through?
I can go first. I've only been a VC for 3 weeks, and I'm still raising funds, just like some of you.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah, no. So hard time for us to raise as well, but we're deploying club deals and business angel checks, and I reply to every single DM message that I get on any platform, always.
How many are you getting? Like on a
I counted it on the plane. I was bored. I got 86 last week. So.
And you responded to every single one?
Yeah, I always respond to everything.
That's actually amazing.
No, but I was an entrepreneur 6 times before, so I know exactly how it works on the other side. So yeah, it's out of respect. I think it's good to reply. Maybe sometimes it's just one sentence, but I still reply. I try to.
And what's exciting you at the moment, like in terms of trends or types of projects?
So our thesis is around game technology that will cross industries, right? So technology that are nascent in game that can then cross over to, let's say, education, for example, or different things like this. And there's so many amazing things that we see. And obviously, blockchain technology is something that I've been following for a long, long time. And there's definitely a lot of things there, especially nascent within games, that can then be applied to other things. So that gets me excited.
Yeah, we have been investing since 2018 with a crypto hedge fund. And then at the end of 2021, we launched our first VC fund. And currently also raising for our second fund. So we have deployed everything from the first fund and just launched it end of last year. And yeah, what was the other question?
Also, so where do most of your leads come from, and like, do you actually respond to cold leads? And what are you excited about right now? Like, when those leads come through, you're like, oh my god, I got a call with these guys. Like,
yeah, I would say the best deals have been coming from even like LPs, investors that have invested in us, and then also introductions from other VCs or our own research. So we have done thesis-driven research into the sectors that we want to invest in, and then we are making, for example, an ecosystem map or laying it out and comparing different projects in those sectors. And yeah, I think these have been the best deals that we have found from our own research and so on. Yeah.
Awesome.
Here we go.
Oh, do you want to?
Yeah. Well, we're very new fund, Dracoon, and we do actually run investment DAO. So it's very native Web3 way, and we are open to any types of deals from very old, but mostly focusing on the early stage. Like, seed to pre-seed is our sweet spot, but even like, out of the scope of we are willing to deploy our capital to great founders. All of our teams are actually from gamers. I personally from the mobile gaming sector, like decades ago, and then like my other partners also from the gamers space. So we do understand both of the Web3 and Web2 game space. And we actually, we do not search for the quick outs of the tokens, or more like, the genuine gameplays and game mechanisms so that captures large audiences and eventually, give adoption stories to the Web3 as well.
I would love to come back to that in a sec, actually, that's a really good point. And I just want to reiterate too that we are going to throw the microphone to the audience, so if you have questions for our investors, get ready. So it's kind of easy to say what you're into and what you're excited about. What I wanted to ask about is what turns you off? Whether it's like the style of project, the narrative that they're pushing, whether it feels like AI tacked on or something like that, or maybe it's the way that they reach out to you. What is your pet peeve in terms of projects that reach out looking for investment and you just go, nah? I guess maybe they get no response or only a one-liner.
Yeah.
What has fallen out of favor for you and why?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I think especially like in terms of Web3 gaming, I think we would be looking for fun gameplay and actually teams who are looking for like also the Web2 audience. Because I think most are just focusing on Web3 and are completely missing out on the Web2 audience and are not even targeting, for example, like Web2 streamers or influencers in that space. And yeah, so one investment, for example, we did was Cathedral Studios. They are Cathedral Studios, the Boundless. Yeah. So they're making a first-person horror shooter, and so when they did their NFT sale to just fund the prototype, we were playing the first build and tested out, and it was actually fun. We all enjoyed it, and that was one of the main reasons why then we invested. Yeah.
Actually, I don't like the word narrative because narratives are only narratives. But we actually need core values that the startups bring into the real world. So especially for the gaming, the fun factor will be the core. But then just integrating the Web3 features like NFTs or tokens or governance tokens to their game without any core value addings, that's no for us.
Why do you think it is that the space is so driven by narratives though? And do you think that's a little bit misdirected, given that you're not deploying capital based on narratives?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit a different path from other Web3 capitals because we're coming from the traditional side. We know how to play games and we know how the real gamers react to the real good products. Yeah. But at this point of the Web3, still it's evolving industry, and we do not have a lot of use cases yet. Maybe that is why the narratives to follow the short-term investment or short-term money. That actually gives a lot of speculators and not healthy environment for the long-run driven founders. It's different perspectives. For us as a Dracoon Ventures, we do love to see the long-run effect from the real gamers to distract this market, in Web3, because we know that the Web3 has a value especially for the players. The players' economy, new creative economies can be driven by Web3, and that kind of creative things that we want to see.
What's the fastest way to not raise money from you?
Lack of vision. I try to not have any bias because I think great entrepreneurs come from anywhere and different backgrounds. So the way they reach out, to go back to the earlier point, or the way they present it is not the most important thing for me. What turns me off completely is the lack of vision, because venture is a model where for an entrepreneur, in order for a venture to be successful, there needs to be a very big multiple at the end of the day. And so if you lack vision, then you don't necessarily enter into the venture kind of model. And I think it's a miss from entrepreneurs who don't get that. And that turns me off.
Can you break that down a little bit? Like, what does
Yeah,
that mean? Like,
of
maybe
course.
they haven't envisioned a big enough TAM, or is it that they're following models that have already, been disproven in past cycles?
Yeah, so,
or what does that mean?
Good follow-up question. So, in my view, an entrepreneur has to have a vision that goes beyond just the success of a game or a mechanic at one point in order to make it really venture ready. And the goal is really to say, all right, maybe that game is step one, and then we'll, add a bunch of different things, and then we'll make the team better. And this is the follow-up play that we have, and this is the next step. And that kind of shows that the founder have that vision, right? They want to thrive, and they want to go beyond, what's imaginable in a way. And I love working with these type of people. And lack of vision for me is something that I don't see compatible with what I'm doing today.
What you just said reminds me of something that Miko Matsumura from Gumi Crypto Capital told me once, and he was saying that one of the things that turns him off is a perfect pitch deck. Because he's like, if I'm going to fund a team, they can hire someone to create a beautiful pitch deck.
Right.
I want someone with that special, brand of crazy that isn't going to create the pitch deck but can sell me a vision that no one else could possibly do, and there's plenty of people out there.
With sparkling eyes.
Yeah. All right, I have one very practical question, and then we'll go to the audience. Do we have some questions? Okay, cool, awesome. Very practical one. You were talking about you don't want people who are looking for a quick out. I love that. Can you talk to me about some trends in terms of lockups, vesting, maybe even things like you were talking about in terms of selling NFTs to fund things immediately, that could be seen as a debt on the balance sheet, you have to repay later. How are you thinking about, what does a quick out look like to you when you're assessing someone who's pitching you for funding? And what should they be doing instead?
Okay, I'm going to try to go first, sorry. So the venture business means that, let's say you invest in 30 companies, right? You know that 25 of them won't be the fund returner that you're looking for. And so the vision of
That's
quick...
a pretty good comparison, right?
Yeah, I was going to explain that a little bit more. But so a quick win is not a venture win, so I don't know if it makes any sense. And out of the 30, let's say you have 5 left, maybe 2 or 3 will do times 2, times 3, and that's not enough, right? You need someone who's going to have that vision again to do times 50, times 100 with the investment that you're giving them. So for me, quick win is a bad view on and not the right mindset in trying to understand what venture capitalists are trying to do, right? And so for me, it goes a little bit with the lack of understanding exactly what you have in front of you.
Yeah, I love that.
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would say also in terms of game studios that maybe want to launch a token, we have been always looking also for equity. So yeah, there's always a door that they could launch a token, but they don't need to.
Do you prefer an equity play as opposed to tokens, or maybe both?
Yeah, it could be both. Yeah, but equity first, I would say. Yeah. That was also one of the reasons why we launched the venture fund, because 2021, I mean, yeah, we couldn't really find anything exciting in the Web3 space. And so that's why we then looked for equity deals. But then also invested in some Web3 game studios. And yeah, then it was always a deal with a token warrant or so. Yeah.
I remember that switch actually. I think that it was very much focused on tokens, TGE in 2021.
Yeah.
And then it was all about the studios, possibly because people had been burned. What do you think? So you were the one who launched the thing about, the quick out. So have you been burnt or?
Fortunately, not yet. So yes, so equity versus token, that is so controversial. So I don't want to, tackle it right now. It depends on the models and what kind of, inherent values that you have into tokens or equity. But for the quick outs, what we actually did not support is that I met some founders who actually utilize Web3 to raise easy money.
100%.
Yeah, and that is quick outs, So like the only thing that they're thinking about is like how to attract the silly investors or quick investors to come in, and then they do not think about the sustainability of the tokens or the real ecosystem behind that economics. I mean, without that, without the communities to support, without the economical elements to support that economics, the token will not survive. They're just selling the bomb. And we don't like that kind of like approach from the founders. So that's why we ask a lot of tokenomics, and we ask a lot of the core game integrations for the Web3 elements, so that we can, we can tell or we can feel that how the founders or the team is really, really like seriously considered Web3 as a core component of their needs.
Yeah, and I think there's been like a lot of conflating of tokens for a fundraising mechanism versus like something that can actually have utility and governance within the game. It's not always necessarily the same thing, but it tends to be treated that way. All right, let's go to the audience, because we have people here who are actually raising right now, and I feel like this would be a wonderful forum to be able to give people the opportunity to just ask those burning questions. So who would like to go first? You're close, so you get to go first. Just say your name and your company, and then share your question.
I'm Daniel. I'm a Win-Win consultancy. So we design, probably at this point, a couple dozen different game economies, including the CCP, one of our partners. And my own background, I used to run Gods and Chain. I designed big time as well. And before that, I was Activision at Blizzard. So I had a pretty long career across gaming and then Web3. And what we currently do with our customers outside of designing their business strategies and economies is help them fundraise. And what we've seen is the probability of them closing any round, without any token warrants, dramatically falls. Because it provides that incentive for VCs where they can at least recover part of their liquidity a lot faster than just pure equity. But what we've seen on our side is the possibility that the creation of like equity plus a warrant has started creating issues that public game companies like Activision used to have, which is sacrificing long-term growth for short-term gains. Rushing to a TGE, sloppy implementation of a token, all because of that pressure. We owe our investors a TGE, and once the token is live, we owe our public traders value towards the token. And so a lot of things that are critical to a game succeeding failed because they integrated a token way before they should have at any point.
Yeah.
You guys as VCs, do you kind of feel also that maybe the existence of token as part of a fundraising mechanism has actually ruined a lot of games that otherwise probably have a better long-term success?
Tough question. You want to go first?
Wow. Let's take that.
I'll try to go first. I think the easy answer to this is the venture model is not built to integrate tokens at some point. I understand that it de-risks the investor's view on something. The idea is not that. The idea is you take the biggest risk in a team that seems the best at what they're doing, and you try to accompany them as much as possible, as far as possible. And if you put anything like venture milestone, or a token view, or I'll give you half of the money if you do this and this and that, I think it kind of breaks the model, at least in my mind. And I don't think it gives the entrepreneur all the best chances to succeed. So that would be my answer to what you're asking. Hope it makes sense.
Yeah, I would say that's then an issue maybe of like selecting the right VC. So yeah, maybe the founder should check it out before, like also with questions, because I think I would say like VCs shouldn't push for like a token launch or something, and should give the founder the chance to also go the Web2 route and find other success before. Yeah.
Yeah, I really agree with him because there are a lot of different types of ventures that you can actually explore. So finding the right investor, finding the right fit to your business model is really important. So for some capitals, they're really pushing their portfolios to go to the TGE, but most of the venture capitals in the scene do understand that TGE doesn't mean that returns. So yeah, well, we are actually working for returns, not the TGE. So when the token can create a real value, that's time for the TGE. But without that tokenomics, then no one wants to get into that line so fast. And also, depending on the core business models or economic elements of your games, it can be totally different games. The tokens can add values to you, or sometimes it harms for you. For you to issue the token right away, even without your product, that maybe that's the projects that has the team of the native Web3 people, the DGens that we so-called, and then also the big communities who actually can follow you wherever you go. But other than that, it's really risky to go on to the TGE first.
I think we could have a whole workshop on that topic. And also, I really like what you were saying about asking questions about value add and alignment with VCs. I think particularly in this current climate, the fundraising landscape, like a lot of people are just so desperate to take money that they're not actually thinking about how to attract smart money and ask the right questions about value add. So yeah, let's have another workshop on that too. Okay, I think we can probably do maybe at least one, maybe two more questions. Just say your name and your company and then your question.
Hi, my name is Michael Yagi. I'm with an indie game called Ascent Rivals. My question is, how much interest is there in venture capital to indie games? And one of the things that we've been struggling with was we've been building for about 3 years, have some accolades. We won PAX Rising, DreamHack Atlanta, DreamHack Dallas, 7,000 organic playtest hours. So we're getting to where we're validating the core loop and some core design of the tokenomics, but we're always scared of raising too early until we know we would want to be a shining example of a portfolio company. Would you recommend us, if some investors are asking, hey, are you putting together a round, we'd be interested? Should we go through with talking with multiple investors right away, or would you recommend just talking with one, getting vetted, seeing what they ask, and playing it really slow? We're kind of at that point where, hey, will we mislead those interested investors, or should we just run it?
Can I just ask a follow-up question? Have you thought about whether you would do like a token generation event, or would you be giving out equity? Have you got that far yet?
The answer is yes. We've been built to design a game with a token in mind before we even started the company, so it's not going to be kind of a tacked on thing. If people are familiar with the game Wildcard, it's probably the most closest vision that resonates with us. It's very much of a spectator, community, loyalty kind of thing. But yeah, we do plan on doing a token, but our whole game and approach, no one knows that our game is either a Web3 game or we've never done a token, talked about the token and NFT sale, but it's been very much a very pivotal part of our company's core design. But that's one of the reasons why we're also very slow to talk with investors. We're not sure where it'll land. We've been approached by traditional publishers and things like that, and they're actually scared about the token, which is why we're staying indie. Some very reputable publishers, because we want to be able to try this Web3 low operating cost and indie route.
for such a good question.
Who wants to go first? Okay, I'll go very quickly. Obviously it's an important question because you want to maximize your chance to raise, or you want to maximize your chances to succeed. A few things in what you said. The first one is, my point of view is that you need to speak to investors all the time. And it's not necessarily when you fundraise that you need to speak to them, because they will embed you with their ideas, right? And every investor, to answer your question, every investor tends to want to see a few different KPIs or have a few different process in terms of, do I fund this indie studio or not, etc. So the more conversations you have, without defocusing from what's important, which is building a great game, the better you're set to convince them later on. The idea is an investor is looking for a way to say no, and he says no 9 out of the 10 times. And so the more you understand the way they think, the more you build that relationship ahead, the less chances you have of them just shutting the door on you. And also it makes you better understand who you are facing, what's important, and potentially you can build your demos or whichever to hit the KPIs that this investor is looking for, rather than shooting at something a bit different. Hope that's helpful.
That is such good advice. I see that so often, like startups will create like a big long list of say 400 firms that could possibly invest in them and just spam them all, rather than choosing 5, really getting to know them, understanding who you're pitching to, and tailoring the pitch for every single investor. I love that.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Very good point. And yeah, so definitely start very early. You can already start now. And what I like is to see if founders are sending me like monthly, quarterly updates. I think that's really helpful. And then with KPIs and all the product updates, business updates, and you can start it even if you're not raising. But if you're planning to raise, then you can then reach out again to VCs, and they've already seen that you are updating them on a monthly, quarterly basis. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is so-called investor relations. Actually, investor relations is really important. It's not about the fundraise, but about selling your products, selling your team, and selling your any values. So it's not like a one-time thing. Relationship doesn't build at one time, right? So you need to consistently follow up, and multiple different types of the conversations are all good, because it gives you a lot of like feedbacks and insights. The languages are different. Capital language and builder's language are totally different. So you have to get adjusted on that too. So that gives a lot of experiences for this from these conversations with the investors. But then what I want you to focus is you have to also study about your investors that you are talking to. So what kind of stages they're usually get in, or what kind of ticket sizes they're signing, or what types of investments like tokens or equity or warrants, what types of things that they specifically looking for, or even for the person that you are in contact with, are they native gamers or not? And from that perspective, the whole conversation comes different. So you have to study the investors you're talking with, and also for the current environment of investments, it's not only for the Web3. Overall, fundraising is really hard. It's really hard time. Not only for the Web3 games, but for the mobiles and Web2 games also. We see a lot of decrease in the investment, actual deployment of the investment, capital investment into overall games. It doesn't talk about only Web3. Most of them are 99% on Web2, but then still we see a lot of dramatical decrease. And all of those like Web2 players who have already experienced decrease in the market, they also come into Web3. You know, they think it's easier for them to play. So you have more competitors right now. So yes, it is hard, but if you have a good game and good community, then there's always good investors to come to you.
So the projector just turned off. I think that was the equivalent of the music playing at the Oscars. I think we have to wrap it up, but I just want to say this is amazing advice. Thank you guys for being so practical. And as they were saying, that it is never too early to start developing relationships with investors, and you have 3 here right now. So I would suggest that you all make sure that you go up and say hi, share what you're building, and make a relationship today.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.